What's up, everybody? James Duggan here with IGN, bringing you some of my gameplay and first preliminary impressions of Call of Duty Modern Warfare's Season 1, which came out on December 3rd. Now, I spent every waking moment yesterday, save for 2 hours, which I played Halo Reach on PC. I spent all of the rest of that time with the Ram 7 and the Holger-26, which are the two new weapons introduced, as well as a lot of playtime in Crash. Going to be giving you my impressions of those elements, and a little bit of playtime with Reinforce and Gunfight OSP. This is a pretty major content drop, so I can't get through everything, which other maps include Vacant, Shipment, Port for Ground War, as well as Cargo and Atrium, but we'll be bringing you content on those hopefully in the future. And then there's one other major aspect that I haven't really talked about yet with Season 1. What could it be? Oh, right, the monetization. The store is finally here, folks. We're going to get into all of that and my opinions on it, which hopefully you could tell from the cadence of my voice what those will be. But let's start off with the positive, which is the gameplay. I'm going to talk about Crash. So Crash, originally a map in Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, as well as a map in Modern Warfare 2. The remaster and the mobile version is now in Modern Warfare 2019, and it is indeed Crash. It's certainly the prettiest version of Crash, but I don't remember disliking this map so much. With that said, I had some really good times, but I also had some really crap times. A lot of raging, but also a lot of fun. Compared to something like Shoot House 24/7, this map is Camp City. And, you know, when you're playing it on domination, going for that B point, you have to smoke the whole area around the helicopter, or else you're just going to die, because there's just way too many places to peek B from. I don't know if we're grandfathering Crash in as meritorious based upon the fact that it was in the original game and it's now exempt from criticism, but I'm going to go ahead and break that rule and say Crash is whatever. It's alright. It's kind of fun. I'm looking forward to getting playtime on the other modes. I really enjoyed Shoot House 24/7 a lot more than this. Granted, that was the kind of quintessential Call of Duty 3-lane map. So I'm not necessarily coming down on Crash because it is not conventional 3-lane whatever. I'm just saying my experience. My experience was fine. Some of it was great. Some of it was not. There's a lot of footage here of my teammates raging. Here, have a listen.
Right. Correct. How do you know I'm there? Same f***ing spot twice in a row.
So that wasn't even me. That was people in Discord. But yeah, I would love to play Crash in rotation with other maps. As a 24/7 map, it's just got too many different hidey, campy elements to kind of be enjoyable. I guess that's where I'm landing on it. All right, let's move on to the two new weapons introduced, the Ram 7 and the Holger-26. These are unlocked for free, even if you haven't purchased the Battle Pass, the Premium Battle Pass. For those of you who've never seen a Battle Pass before in 2019, first of all, welcome to hell. Second of all, the way it works is there's essentially a free tier and a premium tier. And a lot of the aesthetic, really flashy stuff, some of it will be free as kind of a loss leader, but most of it will be paid for, and you pay a certain price to unlock the Premium Battle Pass, and then you play, and as you play, you gain more levels, and then inevitably, when you haven't played enough to unlock everything, by the time it's about to rotate out into Season 2, you can then purchase additional tiers. So it's kind of a get you now, get you later, sweet monetization, give me your money scenario. But the good news is the mechanical benefits, supposedly, the Ram 7 and the Holger-26 are part of the free tier. So that's great. You stand to gain 2 weapons added to your arsenal in the time that Season 1 is out, which looks like is going to be about 2 to 3 months. I bought these because I have to create content. So I purchased straight up to Tier 30 right away. There's actually a Tier 20 skip option, but whatever, I'm not going to get into that. The Holger-26 is an LMG, but behaves a lot like an assault rifle. It's something that I really like a lot. It's got, I believe, the lowest damage per shot of any LMG, but a very high fire rate and very low recoil. So it's something you can definitely beam people across the map with, control very, very easily with a mouse and keyboard. In terms of the recoil, it's pretty much negligible. And straight off the bat has a 100-round drum magazine. So it's very much like a modified assault rifle kind of off the get-go. You can put a 30-round mag in there. You can increase the ADS speed. and have it be a fully conventional AR, as if it were a G36C. But I think at that point you're spending a lot of your slots, which would be better utilized to reduce the magazine capacity. And even though the ADS speed isn't perfectly optimal with the 100-round drum mag on there, the damage per shot is so low that I don't think it really has a chance of competing if it's decked out like a conventional AR. So instead, I say leave the 100-round drum mag on there. And my whole loadout philosophy has been to reduce the ADS speed as much as possible elsewhere by having things like the CQC barrel on there and stippled grip tape and things like that. I had a lot of fun with this weapon. As somebody who primarily uses ARs and SMGs in Modern Warfare, it's just a totally different ball game to be able to just lay 100 rounds in the direction of somebody. You can pretty much keep somebody pinned in cover to the point where they have no choice but to just walk into your bullets, which is really fun. And then obviously not reloading. Another huge benefit. After you get a kill or two, you're not in this reload every kill cadence, but even if you do, the reload time is so low compared to something like an M249. You know, you're just dropping a drum mag, swapping in another one. It's not like there's some kind of extra animation time to have some kind of trade-off. Overall, a fine weapon, one that I think is really fun. Is it optimal? I have to get to the very end tier, but even where it stands now, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing this into a more competitive environment. A great addition. The Ram 7, this thing, I think, is potentially kind of tier 1 optimal. Not straight out of the gate. There's a lot of recoil. Obscenely high fire rate. It just chews through ammunition. Very high damage per shot. And usually those two things don't go together, but in this instance, there is the trade-off of a lot of horizontal and vertical recoil, which, in my opinion, is like a best-case scenario. So something that struck me as very, very powerful, especially if you're going to get some attachments to kind of bring those downsides down. He trades very, very well at close to mid-range. So this strikes me, just first impression, again, I only have maybe about 4 to 6 hours of playtime with this weapon, but this strikes me as something that could potentially be kind of tier 1 territory up there with the M4. Is that because you have to probably pay for it? I don't know. You can put your tinfoil hat on there, but I do certainly think that this is a very good weapon and something that is dissimilar enough from the rest of the ARs to kind of warrant exploration into from a design standpoint. So taking a sharp left turn, let's quickly touch on some of the new modes introduced, which are Reinforce, Gunfight, OSP, and Infected. I played Reinforce and Gunfight OSP. I have not played Infected yet, but let's discuss the 24/7 playlist one, which is Reinforce. So this is a mode that was first introduced in Ghosts. The way it works is you essentially have 3 flags, like Domination, but the catch is every single time you capture a flag, it respawns your teammates who otherwise are unable to respawn. So, like Search and Destroy, when you die, you're out, except you can have a shot at redemption if your team has enough planning and awareness to capture a flag. When you're starting out, you'll go to the 8-point flag, and instead of capturing it initially, which is definitely a misplay, you want to get it 90% of the way to cap. And then if a couple people die, you can kind of respawn your team. And there's a lot of back and forth and hero moments that happen when it's 1v4, but you're able to pull off kind of a clutch capture and respawn everybody and come back to win. Very fun mode, very tense, but again, one of those modes that you don't just check out from as soon as you die. So big thumbs up for me on Reinforce. I like it a lot. Gunfight OSP as well is a very fun mode. I think Gunfight is probably the strongest new offering that Call of Duty has seen since Blackout, I guess. But, you know, kind of extrapolating the timeline beyond that, Gunfight is incredibly fun and certainly strikes me as the best addition in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and something I've spent a lot of time with. So with OSP, specifically, that stands for On-Site Procurement, and what that means is you're going to start with no weapons and find them around the maps, which are very small. I think from a design standpoint, this doesn't succeed as well as just the randomized loadouts, because I think there is this idea of a risk-reward mechanic where the further you go into the center of the map, the more powerful the weapons become. But since they're all relatively balanced anyway, there's usually something pretty freaking good right next to you, like an MP7 or, you know, even like an AK. But still a fun change of pace. I think what's worth talking about when it comes to Gunfight, though, is not OSP, but rather the tournament, which I loved. I played, I won, I got that sick Deagle skin. I had a great time, and I love seeing other games, being invested in other people's games. I wish you could kind of spectate other people's games in that mode. So it was just a beta, and I hope it comes back in a more permanent capacity, because I could really see myself engaging with Gunfight and the tournament the way that I engaged with Blackout in Black Ops 4.
Nice.
I briefly want to point out some of the bugs that I ran into with my Season 1 playtime that remain unchanged or unfixed from before Season 1. I still have this weird sputtering audio issue with VTOLs and jets in general. Crouched footsteps are still way too loud. And finally, I noticed quite a few UI elements getting stuck on the screen and not going away even when the prompts were hit. Alright, now it's time to address the elephant in the room, which is the monetization. It's something that I think we were all expecting to show up at some point, and guess what? It is here with Season 1. The store page was relatively devoid of purchasable things when the game launched into its critical phase, and I mean that in every sense of the word, when fans are taking a look and deciding whether their $60 was a good purchase or not, when outlets like IGN are reviewing it. When there are microtransactions in a game at launch, it almost always hinders the experience, so the lesson learned has not been let's make better, more altruistic microtransactions that are less predatory, but rather let's just wait a few months and then we'll just add them after everybody has posted their scores. And I guess a bit of good news, there are no loot boxes in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, so hats off? No, definitely not. What's here is still definitely predatory, in my opinion somewhat malicious, certainly maniacal, if no other word. So let's go through it super quick. I want to do a deeper dive into the monetization structure and the microtransactions of the Call of Duty franchise in another video because there is just so much to unpack and there are trends that have been established in previous iterations of the game that seem to be something that the series is just moving forward with. So at a top level, here's what you're up against. You have the Battle Pass, you have the store page, you have currency conversion, you have potentially purchasable mechanical advantage, but I think any well-constructed monetization system doesn't clearly offer vertical power for money in the way that Battlefront 2 did. That didn't go over very well, so instead it's more granular and nuanced when it's done well. And the way that Call of Duty does it is by offering blueprints. These are essentially prefabricated versions of a weapon with a certain amount of attachments. Now, most of the folks listening to this video are probably already level 55 and have this stuff unlocked anyway. But anybody who's a casual player, they are essentially purchasing weapons they don't have with attachments they haven't earned for money. Now, you can decide whether that's malicious or not. I don't even think that's really approaching the realm of the worst thing that's going on here. The Battle Pass. If you're unfamiliar with Battle Passes, the way they work is essentially there's a free tier and you're earning all this stuff. The concept here is that you feel a sense of agency and that you've earned these items. Now, of course, you're earning items that you then have to later buy with a premium $10 version of the Battle Pass. But that's alright. You're essentially getting all of this stuff at a subsidized price because you are putting in those game hours, right? And part of that counts towards something. Well, not necessarily. I do think another key part of a Battle Pass and what makes it so attractive to developers is the idea of getting 70% of the way through this Battle Pass, and then it's time for it to rotate out. And now you have this kind of gut-wrench reaction of, I'm going to purchase the next 30 tiers and skip those tiers because this is about to rotate out, and there's no way I'm getting through all these levels. My first impression of the speed at which you progress through the Battle Pass, and again, this is just preliminary, is it's relatively slow. It takes quite a few games to advance through a single tier, and there are obviously 100 tiers. I plan on diving into the stats, recording my time played, and seeing how much progress that got me and whether things like double experience boost that in a later video, so look out for that again in the microtransaction deep dive. Let's move over to the store page. Another element of potential psychological manipulation that happens a lot with game-as-a-service monetization models is this idea of the fear of missing out. The first time I can remember it was League of Legends holiday event, where I had a certain amount of time to get the skins of the characters that I liked with their Christmas outfits before it kind of went away forever. And now that is just standard fare. That's just something you see all the time. You come to the store page, and what are you greeted with? A countdown timer telling you how much time you have before this stuff maybe, who knows, goes away forever. Now, it's particularly devious in the Call of Duty franchise because, A, when you buy one of these and you assume there's only maybe 4 that are going to be around for this week, guess what? Another one gets swapped in. So if you buy, for instance, the Night Stalker pack, then another Operator's pack shows up. So I definitely doubt any of this stuff is as limited as it claims to be, and guess what? It is very limited in the sense that it's only going to be around for a year. This is an annualized franchise. This isn't Rainbow Six Siege. This isn't League of Legends. This isn't World of Warcraft. This is a franchise that has a new release every single year. So these purchases aren't going to get you 10 years of good times. They're going to be valid for the next 9 or 10 months. It's also worth pointing out that with any of this stuff, you can't specifically buy the things you want, but rather have to target the bundle that includes a bunch of extra stuff that you may or may not want at a greater price. It's also worth noting that you have to convert your currency, your real money, into Call of Duty coins. And usually when you make a purchase, there's some more coins left over that then incentivize another purchase. So I want to go into greater detail here, and it's something that I plan on doing in the future. Unfortunately, I have to get this video out the door. It is just a first impression video, but do look out for the deeper dive into microtransactions and monetizations on IGN.com in the future. All right, folks, that does it for me. If you enjoyed the video or have questions, shoot me a follow on Twitter at ThugandDuggan. And for all things Call of Duty Modern Warfare, you're already in the right place at IGN.